Hello, this is Mary Ashley Thies, and this is my action research project on the impact of using a positive behavior reward system on the number of disruptions in attitude during math. This study aims to determine the impact of using a positive behavior reward system on the number of disruptions in attitudes towards math of a particular student. A student who struggles with disruptive behavior and a positive attitude will be the leading participant in the study. The number of disruptions will be recorded before and after the study to determine the impact of the positive behavior reward system on the student's number of disruptions. An attitudinal survey will be given at the start and end of the study to judge the student's attitude and motivation towards mathematics before and after the strategy is implemented. The study results indicated the number of disruptions decreased and the attitude and motivation of the student improved. The results of the study also contributed to the increase in productive instruction time by the researcher. Student in 4th grade, I vividly remember being the child who was consistently disengaged during mathematics. Students are entering schools with low self-confidence and a lack of intrinsic motivation when it comes to mathematics. The problem that I was trying to solve was that low self-confidence and a lack of intrinsic motivation has led a particular student in my class to develop a negative attitude towards math. Therefore, he has been disruptive and disengaged during our 45-minute math block daily. So my question was, how can I minimize the number of disruptions and improve the attitude of the disengaged student during math? First, I had to record quantitative data before implementing a positive behavior reward system for a week. I ended up using a digital checklist. Once the positive behavior reward system was implemented, the checklist was completed for another week. Here are some different research items that I found to support my study. First, on self-confidence. As my student in my class was struggling with self-confidence, I knew this was a big topic that needed to be further discussed. Dr. M. Reddy describes self-confidence as an attitude which allows students to have positive yet realistic views of themselves and their situation. If a student is lacking self-confidence in a particular subject, they're lacking motivation to achieve their goals, which is exactly the problem my student was facing. His lack of self-confidence led him to a lack of intrinsic motivation, which led him to be disengaged and disruptive in the classroom. Therefore, I knew that I needed to implement a positive behavior reward system. In a study done by Robert Horner, he stated that a positive behavior reward system is effective if the rewards are used to build new skills or sustain desired skills, with contingent delivery of rewards for a specific behavior and gradually faded over time. In today's digital age, such a reward system allowed me to use a research-based positive behavior reward system known as Class Dojo. Muhammad Chaudhry, who is the CEO of the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, spoke about Class Dojo in a positive way, as he said it helped to increase students' positivity, self-control, and engagement, and to reduce behavioral problems in the classroom. So I thought this could be the magic solution to help my student become less disruptive and more engaged, therefore increasing his intrinsic motivation and increasing a positive attitude in the classroom during a math block. MIMS 2013 states that Class Dojo saves time because I am able to record the behaviors and accomplishments in the task in the class with just one click, which provided me with the needed time I needed to help my students with their needs, therefore increasing my productivity and my instructional time. If a reward system or a positive reinforcer is not in place, interruptions are very likely to happen, which was something that I was struggling with before the project began. In a 2020 study by Matthew Kraft, teachers estimated at least 15 interruptions during a typical school day by students. He concluded that students lose between 10 to 20 days of instructional time over the school year, which is an astronomical amount, and this is due to disruptive behavior and consistent classroom interruptions. Therefore, using a reward such as Class Dojo and having my student choose a reward that best fit what he wanted to work towards and to help his behavior improve, rewards were that stepping stone that he needed to build his intrinsic motivation so that I could nurture that intrinsic motivation while making sure that extrinsic motivation supported his learning. The plan for my data collection involved one fourth grade student. I used a digital checklist via Google Sheets that I created to track the number of disruptions for 5 days a week for the first week, and the next week 5 days a week as well. The first week, I did not use Class Dojo as a reward system and tracked the number of disruptions the student had with normal classroom management techniques. For the second week, I used Class Dojo and gave the student points every time he was doing what he was supposed to do and engaging in appropriate behaviors. Before the study began, I gave the student an attitudinal survey regarding his views on math and school. After the study and strategy was implemented, I also gave him the same survey regarding math and how he likes math block and how he enjoys coming to school. I needed to use the Class Dojo application, but when all else failed, I had a sticky note with me at all times to tally the number of points he would earn per day and the number of disruptions he had per day. Quantitative data was taken over the course of 2 weeks daily, so I tracked the number of disruptions in a 45-minute math block for 10 days, 5 without the strategy and 5 with the strategy. The qualitative data was the attitudinal survey mentioned, and that was administered before and after the strategy was implemented. It is important to note that the student decided on the reward he wanted to work for at the beginning of the second week. As a student who needed peer and adult attention, the student chose to eat lunch in the classroom with the teacher or myself and a close friend at the end of the week. The teacher gave a student a visual that allowed the student to see the number of disruptions he made during math and how many points he earned that day during math. The student and the teacher set the goal of the desired weekly points together as a unit. If the student earned 10 Class Dojo points by the end of the week, he would receive his reward. Let's take a look at the quantitative data, the digital checklist, and bar graph that was created during the study. On the left, you will see a bar graph. It is divided into 5 days, Monday through Friday, for 2 weeks. On the left, you will see the number of disruptions going from 0 up to 10. The light blue shows before the strategy was implemented. As you can see, he had the most number of disruptions at the beginning of the week, and it did dwindle down a little bit, but spiked back up at Thursday. After the strategy, he started the week with half the number of disruptions from the previous week and went all the way down to only about 2 disruptions on the last day of the study. Over on the right, you will see 2 digital checklists that I made using Google Sheets. You will see the date, the time, and the number of disruptions. The number of disruptions are highlighted in red. Before the strategy was implementing, this student was averaging about 7 disruptions per 45-minute math block. As you can imagine, this was a very good and great number. So the teacher was not feeling very productive at the end of the math block each day. After it was over, look at the difference. The number of disruptions averaged out to about 3 disruptions per math block, therefore increasing productivity and growing the student's intrinsic motivation. Here's the quantitative data student tracker that was kept on a student's desk. It has the number of disruptions, and we conferenced every time after math block, and he was able to put the notes here. Here's a look at the qualitative data or the attitudinal survey. On the left, this is before the study. So you can see he did not really enjoy coming to school. He did not like math, and he did not feel motivated to learn. Afterwards, we have a different story. He moved more into that he somewhat agrees with these statements, and then he really does agree. And finally, this is the last part, before and after. I love learning. He did not at the beginning, and now he somewhat does. Discussions and analysis of project outcomes and results. So the results from the project indicated that using a positive behavior reward system improved the student's overall attitude and limited the number of disruptions during a math block. I really think that Class Dojo is a necessary tool for this particular student and needs to be continued to be used for the student's well-being, motivation, and achievement. In a numbers sense, his disruptions dramatically increased, averaging from 8 or 9 disruptions a math block to only averaging about 3. This is a very vast difference and is something that I'm proud of him for. Qualitative data shows that his attitude improved drastically and he felt more motivated to learn, which was the goal of the researcher at the beginning. Dissemination of results and future directions. I want to continue to use Class Dojo as a positive behavior reward system in my classroom community. To continue to see positive results, I need to use this platform for an extended amount of time. Not only do I believe Class Dojo is an excellent resource, I believe in the power of fostering relationships to help students grow in intrinsic motivation and growth mindset. Therefore, I want to share the data with my team teacher, as he also has a student who has similar disruptive and disengaging behavior tendencies, and also share the data with my administration as they are looking for a positive behavior reward system to implement school-wide. I included this quote to end the presentation that says, "Believe me, the reward is not so great without the struggle." By teaching our students that it is okay to struggle, but also motivating them to learn through things like Class Dojo, we can increase their intrinsic motivation and their self-confidence. Thank you for listening.